Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, here with part 3 in our series of episodes recapping this year's Tribeca Film Festival. We're going to take you to the red carpet and beyond, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
No Rest for the Weekend's coverage of the Tribeca Film Festival is sponsored by Black Magic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. blackmagicdesign.com.
First up is the new documentary America's Burning. The film features experts James Carville, Leon Panetta, and Hank Newsome speaking very frankly about the state of income equality in America. Here's a clip of the film, followed by my interview with director David Smick.
30 years ago, a person born into the bottom 25% of the country economically, who studied hard and worked hard, had about a 25% chance of rising to the top 25%. Today, only a 5% chance.
This was supposed to be the land of opportunity.
It's getting much harder in America to move from one class to a higher class.
Why would these young people have any great affection for American capitalism? They watched American capitalism literally destroy the economy in 2008. They watched their parents go through literal hell. They've watched college become beyond expensive. They've watched the healthcare system become beyond expensive. They've looked at the job market. They've looked at wage growth. And what the shit is this producing for me?
I'm here with David Smick, the director of America's Burning. David, you've arrived at Tribeca. How does this feel, my friend?
It feels fantastic. Tribeca has been terrific, and they've been a huge help and boost to our film.
For those who haven't seen it or don't know about it, can you kind of give me a little explanation of America's Burning?
Well, I began sitting around thinking about the divide and the hatred that's separating us in this country, and talk of a civil war even. And I began to say, what are the reasons for this? And the one reason I never heard was economic, the collapse of the middle class and the death of the American dream. And I said, I think I'm going to explore that in a film.
It's probably been, 20, 30 years ago now that George Carlin said that they call it the American dream because you'd have to be asleep to believe it. Are things worse now, or they've just always been bad and we're more aware of it?
George Carlin's in the film saying that line. I think things are much worse. One thing I like about the economics is the numbers. The numbers don't lie. And when you look at the numbers, the American middle class has taken on the chin. I mean, there's a velvet rope society of brains and money that most of us are part of who are involved in this, that have separated ourselves from the working class and the middle class. And you can't have a democracy like that. You can't have a democracy where people feel isolated and forgotten.
You've got a bunch of big minds in this film. Talked about the subjects and how you were able to get them.
My background is in finance. I've worked in the financial industry, and I just in the last 5 years have gotten into filmmaking as a second career. So I have a very strong Rolodex. A lot of it is trust. If you say, I want to interview a former Secretary of State or Secretary of the Treasury, they have to trust you, and in this case, they do. That you're going to seek the truth, but not produce an interview that reflects just on you. So
I've seen some bits of the film. It doesn't seem like a lot of sunshine and rainbows, I gotta say. Is there hope to be had?
Yeah, the film talks realistically about the dangers that the country is facing, but a huge part of the film talks about America's brilliant and successful history of resilience. We've come back after a lot of stupidity and embarrassments. I mean, this whole thing is an experiment, this American experiment, and we've made mistakes, but we are unique in the world. We're unique in history. We've never seen anything like this, and so I'm an optimist. I think that if we come to terms with making sure that no one is left behind, I think we can survive as a democracy can survive.
Does the film have any plans on how we're exactly supposed to do all that?
Yeah. it's very easy to go and say, let's attack the capitalists. They're terrible, and all the rest, and we're gonna run them out of town. Well, the capitalists have the money, they have the lobbyists. They're not going to do that. But what we need to do is to build a movement that says to the capitalists, says to the money crowd, look, there are two words that describe a country where the middle class has vanished, and the ultra-rich sit side by side with the ultra-poor. And those two words, banana republic. Banana republics are not good places to do business. So I think you have to appeal to their greed, to say, look, you've got to have a middle class, and it's got to be a strong and thriving middle class that believes that their kids, if they work hard, have the opportunity to do better than they do. That's the American dream, and that's what's missing now. If you want to know, as the film shows, if you want to know where a kid's going to be in 40 years financially, look at the wealth of the parents. And that used to not be that way. You used to have, kids, their parents were plumbers, that's where I came from, and they went off and became scientists and brain surgeons. And that whole American dream concept is faded. We got to get it back.
Another point that people like James Carville make in the film, they talk about money in politics. How do you get money out of politics when the people making the laws benefit from money in politics?
Yeah, that is the toughest problem. On the other hand, if we had a movement and people began to realize that the lobbyists are writing the laws, and there's a reason that we don't have as efficient and productive economy today as we had 30 and 40 years ago, is that Washington's run by ruthless corporate elites. And I think that once the country comes to terms with that and says to their congressmen and senators, look, don't brag to me that your presidential candidate just got a $10 million or $20 million contribution from a billionaire. That will come with strings. Tell me you got, a zillion $40 contributions, and then I'll be impressed. So we got to change the culture, and that's basically what Carville was talking about.
I think it's really hard for anything to affect change right now, especially a movie. Do you guys have locked distribution? Do you feel like this will reach people? Do you think it will change things?
Yeah, I think the distribution's going to come in theaters. I think if we go to a streaming service right now, they'll run it for a week, and they'll put it on, the pile with other documentaries, because documentaries aren't big money makers, and the streaming industry is under severe financial pressure. So I think right now for this film, what it needs to do is to get into theaters, into communities where it's talked about, and then go to the theatrical route. So we are, in July, the film goes to the Angelica Theater chain, and then it will expand beyond that.
And for people who want to know more about the film, where can they find it online?
Just go online, americasburning.com, and but this is not just a film; it's a movement, and it's that people believe in. I can't tell you how many. A lot of famous people have come to me and said, "You need me? I'll be public. I'll praise this project. We got to bring back the middle class." It's really a save the middle class movement that we're talking about.
Next up, we're taking you all the way to outer space to meet up with the creators of Mars, a.k.a. the whitest kids you know. Eric McClanahan has the interview with Sam Brown, Darren Trumeter, Timmy Williams, and director Savan Najarian.
So if you wouldn't mind, just before we get started, if you guys could just sound off and let me know who I'm talking to.
Hi, I'm Sam Brown.
I'm Darren Trumeter.
I'm Timmy Williams.
And I'm Savan Najarian.
Excellent. So we're talking about Mars, the animated feature that is your first official movie as the whitest kids you know. But this project's been gestating for over a decade, right?
Depends on how you would classify Civil War on drugs.
Right. Well, this has been created to stand alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not to be seen sequentially, but to be sat down and experienced at once.
It's our first traditionally produced movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to limit anyone's ability to say what they want to say because there's so many of you. But who wants to give me the abridged version of the gestation of this project?
So I looked this up recently when this started in 2012. In the summer of 2012, the five of us, like coming off of finishing Whitest Kids, got together and we met and we started like pitching ideas for our next big project. And there was an idea of trying to do a sci-fi movie that would take place in a single location, and that evolved into this idea of doing a thing about like the first people to go to Mars, and we came up with the idea of having it be this like Willy Wonka type competition to go to Mars, and we like did like a spit draft of the script in that weekend, and then put it down, was like, oh, it's not right. And then over the next 8 years, like in between almost every project that like we would do, because like Zach, Trevor, and I like did like Comedy Central, and Timmy would do like, we did like a Comedy Central pilot and all these other like writing projects. We kept coming back to this Mars script, and we would do like full rewrites, and there were points where we were like, oh, maybe this will be good for whatever new streaming service is out there. Maybe we'll pitch it to them. And we would like rethink it, because at first, it's live action. We would make it this thing for like streaming services on your phone, and never felt like quite right. And then right before COVID, Trevor was talking to Sevon, who they were working together on one of his Disney shows, and I knew Sevon from the Channel 101 scene, and Sevon basically said like, yeah, I can make that as like a low budget animated feature. And we were like, we could raise this money, we could crowdsource that money, like that's a goal low enough. And sort of like the Civil War on Drugs, where we were like, oh, let's do this because we can see the path to do this. We all sort of was like, yeah, this is great, let's commit. And then COVID happened, and we were like, all right, we have nothing to do but raise money for this thing. Right. And because we're talking about like doing it as an animated feature, like Sevon was like, yeah, like let's like record in your guys' homes over Zooms. And I remember at that time you had people who were working at stations in your office but remotely.
Yeah.
Like controlling their computers in Sevon's studio, but like from their own home. And so we just continued and did it. And then unfortunately, like one of the biggest unfortunately's of my life, Trevor passed away. But fortunately, we were like, if there's like this hump of like, we're not making it to this point, this movie's done, before Trevor died, we were like just past that point. We'd recorded his lines. We'd done an pass at notes on like a couple animatics. So he had seen the like sequence of the full feature. And so being past that point, we were like, there's nothing to do but finish this feature.
Now, Sevon, did you get notes on character design, or is that something that you and your animation team put together as far as like the look and feel of these characters?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get any notes. These guys were gracious enough to just give us full creative control, and I think we looked at it as like a sketch group, and a sketch group playing parts in a role. So we kind of designed it based on what the players in the sketch group would look like in those roles. Mm-hmm. So we almost caricatured most of them, or at least a little bit, just to keep I guess for the fans more than anything, but also to service like a sketch group making a movie. There should be recognizable characters. But yeah, I think just my experience in adult animation, we went with a style that's very similar to things like Rick and Morty or F is for Family, and other things that are on TV now that are very much similar style. But yeah, they didn't give me really any notes. I don't think I got any notes, not even on some of the other characters, which I had notes on, the Twinks characters that I had notes on later, which we fixed later, but only because we were told that we didn't know what Twinks look like. But yeah, I think giving us full creative control really allowed us to just like make a cartoon efficiently, and it's always nice to not get, you know, notes from above to like change everything that we had in mind, and it was very smooth process as far as that goes. So yeah, I'm really appreciative of them letting me have that creative control.
Now, did any of you guys look at your character designs after the fact and think aloud or send an email going, "Is that what I look like? Is that what you focused on?"
I actually looked at mine and was like, I look gorgeous.
I looked at mine. I was like, I have been that fat sometimes, so it's fine.
Also, a lot of the fans were making fan art, trying to figure out like what this movie was going to look like, and we really tried not to look at that stuff. But some of it was like very spot on, and it was like, no, that's not what we're doing, but that's a very good idea, and we were just trying not to be influenced by that. But yeah, the fans were getting ahead of us on the designs.
I'm gonna lobby this one at Darren just because I haven't heard much from you yet. I watched quite a bit of the sketch show, and it's silly, it's irreverent, it's provocative, it's perverse. But reading the log line and reading the idea behind Mars, it seems to be a little bit more social commentary. Was that a deliberate choice, and did you enjoy tackling that?
Well, and then just to be fair, like I did not was part of the writing process. I'm not one of the writers, so
Right.
it's like Zach and Trevor. But I mean, I guess there's some social commentary, but I don't know that we're really trying for that in any way. And Sam, feel free to jump in if.
Yeah, I don't think we were as much trying that as much as we were making jokes, and the way that the jokes needed to be framed changed with the state of society, and it's like the kind of thing of like I think like a misconception with our show is that we would say whatever we wanted to say, and the reality of our show is we would say stuff that was on the line and on the edge, but like we would try and think about the like best way to frame it, and try and it's like we're not like being careless, we're being provocative. And I think that's what happens when you like live in that zone, is like you end up like reflecting what's the state of society. And don't quote me on that. I sound like an asshole.
Well, it seems that since the films began its evolution, society has become even more reflective of that idea of, tech billionaires using humans as guinea pigs to test, the viability of different venues of money making.
Yeah, it's weird because that's one of those ideas that like where the truth became stranger than the fiction of it, where we like in one of the only like feedback screenings we got the note that the billionaires felt like turned down from the actual billionaires, and it was like that's just how we wrote it in 2012, and
Right.
that's one of the things we didn't notice. We were getting laughed by Elon Musk,
Well, I mean, when I read the character's name was L. Ron Branson, I was like, all right, I think I understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
This film's finally going to be seen. Working on it for a long time. It's obviously a loving tribute to Trevor and the work that he put in. Do you guys see as this a possible jumping off point for maybe more animated features, maybe an animated show? What's the future hold for you guys?
That's the funny thing with the futures. Who knows? Like I think this is like one of those things where I mean, like we have this amazing thing, and unfortunately, like it's going to be really hard to collaborate with Trevor again. The funny thing is that like this collaboration with him has felt like it has gone on like after he passed away, and there is that realization that that like that he'll always be there with us, and that will always be a thing. And I think we always like to put things into boxes and be like, all right, this is the end of this and this is the beginning, but it's like everything kind of goes in, what direction it goes in. And I think, I think that the fact that we're here means that something will come of this in the future, and some sort of, hopefully people like this, and with any success of this, we'll be able to transition and do more stuff of that vein.
We only have a few minutes left, so I just want to get a few words from each of you about the impact of having this premiere at Tribeca. So we'll start with Timmy.
It's still just kind of unbelievable to me. I mean, it's just so cool. We all we all lived in New York for a long time. We were all kind of movie dudes, film school for a lot of us and stuff like that. And so Tribeca is one of those things, it's like, holy shit, we're actually a part of it. And also for the way that it happened, which is just crowdfunding and COVID, recording our voices each at our own homes and stuff like that. It's just kind of amazing to see that it's actually become this real thing at a real festival. We're getting a red carpet, and it's just amazing to me.
For me, we've all left New York, and we all lived in New York, and we busted our ass, making comedy shows every weekend for 3 years. And we all worked Monday through Friday, and then we wrote a new show all day Saturday, rehearsed it all day Sunday, did the show Sunday night, and then went back to work on Monday morning. We did that for 3 years. And I live in London now, and just flying in and seeing New York again and walking around on the streets, and I'm just I'm back. And we're all back. Tribeca brought us all back to New York to have this special moment with New York, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, Tribeca's a huge festival, and I didn't expect. I was thinking we were going to premiere at some animation festival, and all of a sudden this big film festival wants our movie, and I'm like, whoa, we made a film. That's when it really kind of clicked. I thought we were just making some comedy cartoon, but we actually made a film, and I think it's going to be celebrated at a place that I never thought I'd have a film in Tribeca, but I've always known about Tribeca, and so it's just a trip to be involved with it now, and I'm really grateful that they see the merits of the movie beyond comedy, beyond cartoon. It's an actual film, so it's a trip to be involved with it.
It is such a relief that it does, seem to bring some validity to this being a film, and I think that's so amazing. And so I say relief because it's when Trevor passed, it was definitely a possibility that we could not finish this, but that it feels like we've made it, at least to some marker. And then to repeat what Darren said, I mean, New York, as soon as you're I'm thinking about moving out of New York has someone there to replace you. It's a city that just moves on, changes so fast. And to have us be invited to come back and do Tribeca feels I feel like Sally Field. I'm you guys remember, you like us. You really
Local
like us.
boys do well.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of time. I'll be at the festivals. I'll be running around. Hopefully I'll run into you guys.
Oh, say hi.
Yeah. So I'm in New Jersey right now. After this, I'm hopping on a bus. So I'll see you guys there. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much for today.
And that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including more film festival coverage, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank our guests, David Smick, Sam Brown, Darren Trumitter, Timmy Williams, and Savan Najarian. And a big thanks to our sponsor, Black Magic Design. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.